Hong Kong protesters are still on the top of world agenda, I can say, and the unrest in the region, I mean in Hong Kong, has not ended for actually for months. Why do you think the protests and the violence are still ongoing?
Well, first of all, I don't even call them protesters. I call them rioters. And I spent time with them when they had this so-called umbrella movement already years ago. And I'm with them now all the time. I went to Hong Kong 3 times. I talked to them. I talked to police. I talked to rioters. I talked to normal citizens. And I have a very clear understanding of what's going on. It's yet another umbrella revolution, color revolution of the West, the regime change when the US, UK, German embassies are deeply involved in this. There is a financing of the protests, and these young kids of Hong Kong are totally brainwashed. I'm sorry to put it like this on the television, but they are dumb. They know nothing about the history. There is a problem with the curriculum in Hong Kong schools, which they still didn't change. They know nothing about the brutality of the British occupation. They know nothing about Western imperialism even. They riot with the United States flags all over. I have footage, I have photos, I have everything documented. They sing American national anthem. They blast American national anthem from speakers. They riot under the flag of British colonial administration of the past. They're clearly trained by somebody else. They sit down with them and you ask them, what do you know about Iraq? What do you know about Afghanistan? What do you know about Syria? What do you know about the fact that every single Latin American country has its government overthrown? They know nothing about this. They don't know anything about the brutality of the British occupation. You know, even in Hong Kong, some cultural centers now that used to be British jail, they exhibit, you know, Hong Kong people being beaten, being flogged, being caned like children, you know, by the Brits. They don't go there. They don't want to see it. They love the West. They love the West because they are being paid to love the West. You know, and this is a very, very frustrating situation because you deal with absolute fanaticism. Look, about police. Police in Hong Kong is so soft. I never saw anything like this in my life. You know, I covered so many riots, so many revolutions, so many protests from places like Peru to Gezi Park in Istanbul to every place in the world. They actually, the police is being insulted by rioters. They are kicking them. They are beating them. And then there is this social media, pro-Western social media, and they are not filming that. They wait. And then suddenly police charges back when they cannot take it anymore, and the cameras start rolling. I was watching the group of social media reporters, so-called, from Hong Kong, and they were when they gave signal to each other, and they suddenly fell on the ground and they started to you know, cover their mouth and all this and yelling, oh my God, the tear gas and all that. And I'm standing there, you know, I have my eyes are not watering, nothing is watering. The water, if they use water cannons, they use the pure Hong Kong drinking water. In Hong Kong, it's like a pure. It's, I don't know what they use, but it doesn't. It looks like a tear gas, but it's not really what I'm used to. So, but everything is turned upside down. Rioters are killing people. They are beating people. They are stripping women. They are humiliating citizens who are against them, which is a silent minority of Hong Kong. But this is never covered like that by the Western media. You know, it's covered as some kind of a fight for democracy. What kind of democracy is this if you start beating people who disagree with you? What kind of democracy it is if you are going against the majority of your own territory, which is part of China. What kind of democracy it is if you are really not allowing people to express their opinion? So this is perfectly staged Western propaganda event, and I see it day after day when I work there. And all you have to do really is to talk to them. They have nothing to say. You know why it all happened? A, they live in a turbo capitalist city, which is still which is run by oligarchs from the British era. So they live in the turbo capitalist Hong Kong, which is so expensive. It's the most expensive city on earth that nobody can afford to live there, especially the young people. They all live with the parents. You know how much it costs to park the car in Hong Kong? It costs like $700 US dollars, not Hong Kong dollars, US dollars, only for 1 month from 9 to 5, only from Monday to Friday. So imagine what the rents are. So these people are frustrated. They're screwed. They go to universities, they cannot get a job. So what they need is more Beijing, not less Beijing, because Beijing is dealing with these things across the line in the mainland China. But they were brainwashed to believe that they are frustrated with the system and therefore they want more Western capitalism and so on. They really do not know what they want. They don't know China too well. They know much better Bangkok, or they know much better London than they know their own country, which is China. Which the rioters normally should be asking for help with the housing, with to bring socialism to Hong Kong. So they protest thinking that the West is going to resolve the problems that they have. And the last thing is, they're frustrated that China is doing so well, the mainland China. Hong Kong used to be very special place. They have songs saying, well, there is a place across that I was told where the streets are paved with gold, and it's all across the borderline. So that's how the mainland China used to see Hong Kong in the past. It was so rich, and so everybody saw it as a unique place. Now you cross the borderline, you go to Guangzhou, you go to Shenzhen, you go to Beijing, Xi'an. They are much better cities than Hong Kong. They have much better cultural centers, much better big public spaces, promenades, universities, theaters, you name it. The public transportation is better. And they are totally frustrated in Hong Kong about this. They suddenly feel they are not special, they are not unique anymore. And this is also, and they're spoiled kids here, and that adds to their frustration. So they hate mainland China because they don't want to follow mainland China, and they don't want to admit how they are lagging behind suddenly.
As you said, you have been in Hong Kong recently, and you had the opportunity to make observations there, and you shared very, very striking images, including these street events from your social media accounts. I saw them by myself, and the first is, how do you analyze these protests, and what do you compare them to? And secondly, this violence should have a logical explanation.
Well,
what's the reason for it?
The violence does have logical explanation, and it is that they actually are unloved. The protesters are unloved by their own, what I call silent majority. They feel that they are losing support in Hong Kong. They feel that they are doing probably something very destructive, and more. They feel that they are reaching point of no return, and they are becoming more and more violent. I talked to several friends of mine in Hong Kong, and some of them are older than me. One of them is a doctor, and one of them is a curator of a big museum. And both of them said something very sad, actually. they said that the rioters are destroying culture of the city, and they are destroying families because in China, and Hong Kong is part of China, the young people have a respect for older people. They also are always looking for some sort of cooperation, at least inside of the family. And now both this man told me that they are afraid to even talk to their grandchildren, and very often they're scared. They're scared of being insulted or maybe even attacked. The violence in Hong Kong is unprecedented. You are talking about China, which is like Japan, which is some of the lowest crime rates in the world. It's one of the safest places on earth. You don't attack, you don't beat up people, you don't start stripping women in the broad daylight. You don't kick police which is on the ground already. This is not China. This is not North Asia whatsoever. So this is very actually depressing. This is violence which they obviously learned from the West and from their handlers, from the films, from maybe some violent ninja films, or from some violent war films. It's even if some people in Hong Kong had some support for them at the beginning, I think the majority of people now are very scared. They don't like these people. It is, and what is there really to like? They are extremely selfish. You know what they are destroying? Of course, they destroyed some Louis Vuitton or Gucci store here and there, but they are usually destroying the public property. They destroyed the wonderful metro system subway system that Hong Kong has. They take bars from the barriers that are protecting pedestrians, bars that are actually used as a protection between the sidewalks and the driveways. They are destroying public street lights. I mean, this is what they are after. They are not interested whatsoever anymore in their city, which has very good infrastructure. They are destroying things that are serving everybody, that are serving the people. Or they go to the malls. Okay, mall is not a public space, but they go to the mall and they provoke people, and they see somebody doesn't want to join them and they attack them, or they verbally accuse them. I was verbally accused on many occasions, and because I look foreign, they probably didn't touch me. And when they saw my press card, they said, "Oh God, how can you be a journalist if you don't support us?" You see, this is their logic. The Western press is all over supporting them. It's paid to support them. Then they see somebody with the press card who doesn't support them, and they're shocked. They don't understand. They're so spoiled intellectually, in terms of support politically, that they don't understand anymore that somebody can be against them while looking as if coming from the West.
Okay, now the last question. The leaders of the street demonstrations, you call them the rioters. For example, one of the leaders, Joshua Wong, he said they claim that the new draft law of national security, which is currently now on the agenda, is heavier than the one that previously drafted and withdrawn. What will the new draft law bring? What do you think about it?
Well, the draft law is nothing else. Long overdue draft law is actually still milder than what you would see in many countries in Europe and, of course, in the United States. It's basically the national security law bill is, making illegal to fight for secession of the territories in China. You saw what happened to Catalans, for example, in Spain. The entire government got arrested. violence was unleashed against the people. In countries like France, you cannot really even speak your language. What happened to Corsica when it tried to secede? It's much tougher, the security laws in the United States. China was too soft on these groups of people which are there to break China. Joshua Wong, of course, is one of the main. I mean, he was shuttling before coronavirus between Hong Kong and Berlin, Hong Kong and London. I mean, all these guys were officially having meetings, coordinating meetings at the U.S. consulate in Hong Kong. It's totally ridiculous. There is no secret about it. There is footage about it. The U.S. consul there never denied it. So it is. They work clearly for the foreign country. Now imagine if you would work for the foreign country as a Canadian or Australian or a U.S. citizen. You know what would happen to you. So why this is being criticized when this is happening in China? Now, let me tell you, I'm preparing a book, a very interesting book, which will soon be released. It's about all these revolutions and riots that I firsthand covered in the last half a year. Beirut, the Chile, Colombia, Bolivia, and Hong Kong. So there is a big confusion in the West. And again, it's because of the Western propaganda. They try to throw everything to one bag. So people don't understand anymore what's going on. Well, some of these things are revolutions. Some of these things are riots. There is nothing in common between Chilean uprising against neoliberal system and fascist government and what is happening in Hong Kong. But the Western media wants it to be all the same. There is nothing in common between Bolivian coup that fascist forces of Mrs. Agnes unleashed and the uprising in Colombia. So I went to all these places. I worked in all these places. And all these situations are totally different. Some of them are reactionary. Some of them are mixed bag, like in Beirut. Some of them are totally socialist, left-wing, like in Chile, an attempt to bring Chile back to where it was before the Pinochet's coup in 1973. So be careful with this. These are not the same things that we see. And Hong Kong is definitely a reactionary situation. But you know what? In Chile, even they don't understand it necessarily, because it is complicated. Some people in Chile are watching CNN in Espanol, which is a CNN Chile, CNN in Spanish. So they get totally wrong ideas about Hong Kong. They think, oh, they are running like us, fighting police. There is tear gas and all this. So it's the same shit like we have in Chile. No, it's not. It looks the same, but it has nothing to do with it. So all these movements that we see all over the world, from Iraq also to Lebanon to Hong Kong, they have all totally different. They look the same on the camera, and it's easy to manipulate, but they have totally different essence.
It was a long and a moving talk. Thank you very much, Andre Vltchek.
Thank you so much.